Am I the a-hole for cutting off my mother for choosing my stepdad over me? I'm 26F now, but the wounds from what happened still feel fresh. I was born when my mom was 20. She was a young mom, but she was always warm and affectionate when I was little. My parents, despite being young, worked incredibly hard to give us a comfortable life. We weren't rich, but we were solidly middle class, and I always felt safe and cared for, at least in the early years. I'm the oldest of three. My brother Jay is a year younger than me, and my youngest brother Ben is 6 years younger. We were close growing up. Our house was loud and filled with sibling bickering, laughter, and the kind of chaos that feels normal when you're a kid. Things started to shift when I hit high school. My mom and dad divorced, and it changed everything. I stayed with my mom for a while, but the relationship between us started to sour when I began expressing myself more. At 16, I dyed my hair purple, a simple act of teenage rebellion, and she freaked out. Like, full on you're dead to me freak out. She kicked me out over it. Over hair. So I moved in with my dad. I was heartbroken. For 2 years, I lived with him, trying to make the best of it while still wishing things could go back to the way they were with my mom. As graduation neared, I started missing my friends, my old town, my brothers, and yes, deep down, I still missed her too. So, during my senior year, I moved back in with my mom. I thought maybe we could patch things up, that she had calmed down, and that I'd finally have the relationship with her I longed for. But then, she met Jake. She met him at a bar. It started as a casual thing. She'd be out with him every other night, giggling like a teenager. I met him twice. That's it. Just enough to realize I didn't particularly trust him. He gave me a weird vibe, and something about the way she talked about him, like he hung the moon, made my stomach turn. I also got to meet his son, who was trans and actually my age. We hit it off, and he was probably the only bright spot in that mess. About 3 months into their whirlwind romance, I came home from school one day to find them, Jake and his son, moving in. I stood in the doorway, confused. My mom casually turned to me and said, "Don't you remember? I told you he was moving in with us." As if that somehow excused not even giving me a heads up. I was shocked. A man I barely knew was suddenly living with us, sleeping in the room next to mine, sharing a roof with my younger brothers. I was uncomfortable, overwhelmed, and, frankly, terrified. It didn't feel safe or fair. When I tried to talk to her about it later that night, her response chilled me. "If you don't like it, you can leave." From that point on, she started treating me like I was a burden. She began mocking my faith, even though she raised me Baptist. She'd taunt me for going to church, roll her eyes at me for praying. I became the villain in her home, the outsider. Jake and my mom would constantly make out in front of me. I'd walk into a room, they'd see me, and almost immediately start groping each other like teenagers trying to prove a point. It was disgusting. It made me feel invisible and deeply uncomfortable. She would nitpick everything I did, if I laughed too loudly at a movie, if I had friends over, if I dared to exist in a space she no longer wanted me in. She began accusing me of eating food she liked, even though I didn't touch it. My friends stopped coming over because the vibe was unbearable. Then came the night everything snapped. I had just finished a 10-hour shift at the diner where I worked. I was tired, hungry, and had barely the energy to stand. I made dinner for myself and one of my brothers, just enough for the two of us. The other was away. I figured I'd take a quick shower before eating. When I came back, all the food was gone. I stood there, stunned, looking at the empty plates. Jake and my mom were in the kitchen, smiling at each other, like this was some big joke. I asked, "Hey, where's my food?" No response. I repeated, louder, "Where's my food?" That's when she exploded. "You mean MY food? I bought it, so it's mine." I was stunned. "But I made it." She just scoffed. "I bought it. It's my food. So I ate it." I was beyond upset. My stomach was aching, my body exhausted, and her logic was absurd. It wasn't about food anymore. It was about being powerless in her house. So I grabbed my keys, jumped into my old 1997 Crown Vic, and drove off into the night. I posted about it on Facebook. It wasn't even that detailed, just a small vent. But she saw it. Within minutes, my brother called to say she was done with me and that I was being kicked out. Again. I came back to the house, snuck as many of my things as I could out through the window, and started sleeping in my car and on friends' floors. I was 18, homeless, working full-time, trying to finish high school, and I still graduated. I told my mom out of spite, hoping she'd be shocked that I managed to pull it all together without her. But instead, she sent me a photo of an engagement ring. She was marrying Jake. and she planned the wedding for the same day as my graduation. I told her I wouldn't be attending her wedding, and she wasn't invited to my graduation. I wanted to celebrate that victory for me, not share it with someone who made my life hell. But of course, my family didn't see it that way. I was flooded with messages calling me selfish, ungrateful, cruel. Eventually, I caved. After graduation, I stopped by the wedding reception. I shouldn't have. The moment she saw me, she beamed, and then, like it was a grand performance, she announced that she and Jake were moving across the country, 18 hours away, and she was taking both my brothers. Everyone turned to me, waiting for my reaction. I just took a sip of my drink and pretended to get a phone call. Outside, my brothers followed me. They told me they'd known about the move for a while but had promised not to tell. I didn't blame them. They were 17 and 12. What could they do? They moved. And that was it. I kept minimal contact after that. Then, in 2021, I lost my best friend to suicide. It destroyed me. I spiraled into one of the darkest periods of my life and nearly didn't make it through. My mom reached out during that time. She offered support and I, desperate and grieving, let her back in just a little. She came to visit that Christmas. She brought Jake and one of my brothers. We went to dinner, and things felt okay. I was starting to believe maybe, just maybe, things could be repaired. On the drive back, she brought up how rebellious I was as a teen. She laughed about me piercing my belly button. I tried to joke along until I said, "You told me it made me a whore, that I probably showed my boobs to boys." She looked confused, and then laughed. "Oh, honey, you must have dreamed that up." "I'd never say something like that," I snapped. "I only ever had nightmares about you." "I remember exactly how much it hurt when you said it." She sighed and rolled her eyes. "I hate how you lie, especially in front of your little brother. It's so sad." Jake jumped in and started yelling at me. I shut down. When we got to my place, I tried to walk past her, but she grabbed my arm and forced me into a hug. I ran up the stairs and slammed my door, feeling like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. That night, I realized I couldn't do it anymore. It's been 3 years since then. She still sends me messages on holidays and birthdays. I never reply. So, am I the a-hole for cutting my mom off for? There's so much more I haven't even mentioned. Small slights, quiet manipulations, the way she made me feel like a stranger in her life. But these are the major moments. I wonder sometimes if I overreacted, if I should have tried harder. Or maybe if I should give her one final conversation. One chance to explain why I've been silent. One message to tell her why she might never hear from me again. Or would it just be easier, healthier to block her number and finally let it go? Edit. I guess my real question is, should I reach out one last time and tell her everything? Or is closure something I'll have to give myself?